What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? If lost in a hot desert, do not ration out your water. Drink when you are thirsty and stay hydrated with what you have. Even if it only lasts a couple hours, just to keep your mind-body working. Lost hikers have been found dead with plenty of water by their sides because they tried to ration it, became dehydrated without realizing it and eventually died. And no, I still don't know if drinking your pee is a survival alternative. In our lab school they told us this. Drink when you're thirsty. Don't put it off. Edit. If I recall correctly, it was basically logic along the lines of, if you're starting to feel thirsty you needed to drink water 30 minutes ago. Edit. E-L-O-B. Expeditionary learning outward bound as a teaching method. https://en.m. Wikipedia. Org Wiki Expeditionary Learning Schools. Follow flying birds to find water. They could be flying anywhere. Don't drink water from cactus. It's not potable and likely to trigger vomiting, diarrhea, and you will get more dehydrated. Yes, I believe there's this one very specific species where the water is safe to drink. But in general cactus water is a big no-no. Not so much a survival myth but a common camping mistake that an amateur survivalist might make. Never use rocks that are in or close to a riverbed for a campfire. Ever. Many get tiny bits of water trapped inside the rocks. Then when heated by a fire, it turns into a lovely grenade due to the water being heated and turned into steam, expanding quickly. Hot bits of rock everywhere. People like river rocks because they are smooth and easy to cook off of and they look cool. But they are crazy dangerous. Plenty of rocks all around. Find another. We found this out in scouts when I was around 12. I'm amazed no one got hurt. Everyone just thought it was cool. Don't tie a rope around your waist and expect it to save you from a fall. Sure, it might prevent you from hitting the ground, but you can still damage your internal organs and break your back doing this. Safety harnesses go around your hips and legs, not your waist. Fucking Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises, my mans gets his back kneed by a person and is essentially disabled, but survives falling like 100 feet with a thin rope around his waist lower back without injury. It would essentially be the same or even worse as falling onto a tight rope from that height. Punching the biggest guy in prison on your first day. Real talk. From an actual former criminal. Your best bet in jail prison is to just be normal and blend in. It isn't as extreme as media makes it out to be. Do not try to leave a deserted island if you are stuck. You will almost certainly die before someone spots you. There were some collaborate efforts on the net looking for airplane debris or damaged ships after a massive storm. It's so difficult to tell things apart even from good satellite pictures. Is that something? Or just another of the countless reflections and weird shadows? Searching islands is much less surface than searching an ocean, and the chances for water, shelter and food are so much better. I don't know if this counts as survival myth, but you don't actually have to, and probably shouldn't, wait 48 hours to report someone as missing. Those first hours are crucial, so report someone as missing immediately, especially if it's a child. Missing children are at high risk during the first 24 hours, especially if abducted. In 76% of child abduction murders, the victim was dead within 3 hours. 88.5% were dead in the first 24 hours. Source: https://www.atg.wa.gov Child Abduction Murder Research. Alcohol does not warm you up. You feel warm since it's dilating your blood vessels in your face and extremities, but that causes you to lose more heat to the environment and therefore will make you die of hypothermia quicker if anything. If you're driving during a tornado warning, don't get out of your car and climb up the side of an overpass to hide under a bridge. This myth became famous after amateur video of a man and his daughter hiding under an overpass. But the one they chose had some unusual construction that offered them protection in a way most don't. Wind speed increases the higher you get from the ground, and the narrow passages can create a wind tunnel effect, taking the flying debris picked up by the tornado and sending it straight through you at 200 miles per hour or more. What about lying in a ditch? Genuine question. For the love of God, do not eat everything raw. If I see another episode of Bear Grylls eating a bat or bird as raw as sashimi, I think I'll go crazy. You should absolutely try your best to cook the food you've nabbed, even if it's through an open fire for a few minutes. Eating, say, A dead bird that may or may not have bird flu is a hell of a lot worse than creating a fire to cook it over. Congrats for completely screwing yourself by eating raw wild meat. Edit 1. Holy bird flu Batman, I just woke up and saw that my inbox exploded. Edit 2. Holy grammar. I was tired and I was using voice to text. Fixed a lot of it now. That reminds me of this video I saw about a dude from World War II who survived so long out at sea. He eventually had to resort to literally drinking bird blood to sustain himself. IDK, how that's even possible, lol. Edit. His name was Poon Lim and he survived for 133 days. That the first thing you need to do is make a fire. Fire's no good if it starts raining. Shelter and raise bed first. Even if you can't get a fire going or collect water, you'll have a dry place to sleep through the night to get a fresh start in the morning. And raised bed is hella important. Insulates you from the cold, ground will suck the warmth right out of you, and the wet, and any bugs, snakes etc that tend to cross the area you've laid down in. Opening windows during a tornado. Even as a child growing up in the Midwest I never understood this. I always thought, doesn't it let the high winds in? I remember in first grade we had a tornado warning and some of the teachers were wasting time by opening windows. Even as a child growing up in the Midwest I never understood this. I always thought, doesn't it let the high winds in? Yep. The idea of opening windows during a tornado was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how they destroyed buildings. People thought they caused buildings to explode because of the change in air pressure, when it's really the winds and debris doing the damage. I don't know if this is a tip necessary, but humans can easily go a week if not 2 without any food. No water is another story, so that's more important if you ever find yourself in that situation. Reminds me of the survival rule of 3. You can generally survive 3 minutes of non-breathable air, 3 days without drinkable water, 3 weeks without food. Edit. 3 hours of exposure to extreme hot cold. Thanks to other commenters for this one. Edit to say that these aren't hard timers. More of a guide that if you fix that problem within that time frame you can survive, recover without, hopefully, permanent damage to your body. Not taking the brace position on planes. And X200B. Please for the love of God just brace. It will save you. The RAF had rear-facing seats on the VC-10 transports. Don't know if they carried on with the newer aircraft. Increases survival chances apparently. Would be interesting to see domestic passengers' reactions to flying sat backwards. Building a raft to sail to civilization. If you ever find yourself marooned on a deserted island, stay on the island and be found alive versus never found or found dehydrated and dead of exposure. Also walking to safety if you get lost and your car breaks down. Stay with the vehicle. They always find a vehicle. Its inhabitants, not so much. Edit. Since this comment has seemed to blow up, let me preface this with I am not a rescue professional and just reposting what seems like good advice I have seen on Reddit. Do your own research. Every situation is different. If you're that fucked, burn a tire a bit away from the car. Thick black smoke will be visible for a long ways. When you're in a cabin in the woods and you hear a strange sound outside, do not go investigate while saying, "Hello? Who's there?" Especially taking no flashlight, weapon or a buddy. That's how horror movies start. Instead, just split up and go jogging through the forest in the dark in high heels. It's good cardio. If you get stabbed by something, do not try to remove the object. You will make it worse and potentially bleed to death. Depending on where you were stabbed, if you try and pull it out, leave it be and get help. Furthermore, if you've been stabbed in the eye, leave the object in and cover both eyes. Looking around with your unaffected eye will only encourage additional movement in your damaged eye, so minimize it by covering both. Actually, while not a bad idea, this is no longer advised. https://www. Reddit. AskReddit comments through to WTO. What is a survival myth that is completely wrong? Hackzick. So, ignore me. Do not wander off to look for help. Stay put, stay by your car, or wherever you realize that you are lost. The more you move, the harder it gets for rescue to find you. Make yourself visible, but do not try to find the way back yourself. You already don't know where you are. You don't know where you're going. I'm still not clear on if you're supposed to drink your pee or not. Edit. Okay. Thank you everybody for telling me not to drink piss and making the same dodgeball quote over and over. I get the point now. Not. You can distill it and get some water back though. This isn't really a survival myth that anyone spreads. But when I was a kid I thought if I jumped out of a plane on top of a table, I could jump off the table just before hitting the ground, and since the table was below me and therefore was really the falling object in my child brain, and I was only falling as a result of being on the table, that my upward momentum just before impact would cancel out the rate of descent of the table and I could land safely on my feet. Good thing I never tested it. My high school physics teacher actually explained this in class. Basically, in theory you can do this, but your jump will need to be so powerful that it will physically be impossible. After getting bitten by a snake or trying to suck out the venom, do not do that. By sucking the area of the bite your blood flows faster and increases the speed of the venom acting on your body. It'll just get to your heart quicker and kill you. You're not wrong about the no sucking. The minor detail I'm correcting is that the venom doesn't travel through your bloodstream, it travels through your lymphatic system. When we apply a pressure bandage it isn't to restrict your blood flow, it's to restrict the venom moving through the lymph fluid. Is this a myth? If you're wandering in the wilderness, wondering if the plants and water are safe to eat and drink, watch what the animals do. They will show you the safe plants and water. Spoiler, this is not true. Many animals are evolved to consume things that are poisonous to us, or nutritionally valueless. Case in point, vultures. My dog ate an entire rancid rotisserie chicken and I was the one who suffered his nasty ass farts. He, on the other hand, seemed unfazed and only felt mild shame when I discovered what he had done. If I had eaten a rancid chicken, I doubt I would be so fortunate. The best outcome would be hellish food poisoning. And that's a domesticated animal. Wild animals can eat a lot more. Just thinking of all the raw seafood they consume. Coyotes eating raw chicken. Rabbits eating their offspring's actual shit. If you're in a life-threatening situation and lost without supplies, illnesses, diseases and unfiltered water will kill you way slower than dehydration. Drink the damn water and deal with the consequences later. When you're found, you should try your best to filter sterilize it first, though boil it. Put it through your shirt folded up, etc. But if help is on the way, as in they know where you are and told you to that they are coming for you, and you're quite literally dying from thirst, then drink the water. Don't call 911 but change your voicemail to let people know where you are if you're stranded and need help. Call 911. You can lose valuable battery power futzing around with voicemail, but you can use low power mode and still call 911. I have actually never heard this before and am dumbfounded that it's considered a survival tip. Don't drink alcohol to stay warm. It dehydrates you. That's the only old one I remember. Learned from Survivor Man to eat the whole rabbit because the meat is so lean. Without eating the organs, you won't get the necessary nutrients. Learned from a book called Peak to sleep with your water bottle in your sleeping bag so it doesn't freeze in the cold. Punching a shark in the nose. Have you seen a shark nose? It's slippery and angles down into 3 rows of teeth. Go for the eyes if you need to, but mostly avoid acting like a wounded seal if you flail around like "ah fuck it's gonna eat me." The shark will feel obliged to do so. "Ah fuck I guess I'll eat you, shark." In the same way scream underwater to repel a shark. How the fuck do you scream underwater? Listen to your employer when they say that it will be safe to continue working when there is a category 4 or 5 tornado warning. Edit. What you really should do is, if you have time, leave work if it is in the predicted path of the tornado. If there is not enough time, stop working and seek shelter inside a protected part of the building. You should always fight back when you are being robbed with a deadly weapon. This is false. Only counterattack if you have the opportunity to, or unless you do not have any other options. Do not counterattack if someone is aiming a gun towards your head. Like in the videos from Detroit Urban Survival. Visit Active Self-Protection on YouTube for better tactics. Alternatively, if someone is trying to take you to a second location, fight like hell because they'll probably kill you at the second location. If you're unfortunate enough to be in a bank whilst an armed robbery is underway, don't be a hero. The banks are insured and the money can be replaced. Your life can't be replaced. Just because the robbers didn't go into the bank with the intention of killing anyone doesn't mean they still won't if spooked challenged. A living witness is better than a dead hero. We did robbery training when I worked in a casino. Didn't need to be told not to give a FK about people taking money that doesn't belong to me, that's for sure. Landing in water from high up is going to kill you. 10 meters. 15. Miles 20. You might be fine if you land properly. Get much higher than that is getting into broken bones and death territory. Not really advice. But it was a funny thing my brother said. If you ever fall from an airplane and you have the choice between concrete and water, choose concrete. At least that way your freshly crippled body won't have to try and swim afterwards. Pretty much every video shown on Detroit Urban Survival Training's channel. Man, if the streets are that tame, where this dude survived them, with skills like that, I'm taking my family there for vacation. You can't actually drink water from a cactus. The pulp will be super gross and probably toxic. The only species that's safe-ish is the fishhook barrel cactus. And that's a protected species. Oh well, if I'm about to die I'll definitely leave the fishhook barrel cactus alone. Maybe not survival, but ripping a grenade pin with your teeth might not get killed. But I guarantee you will lose a lot of blood in the process. Because, I ask, knowing the chance of me ever seeing a real grenade, let alone ripping the pin with my teeth, are next to none. Taking off all your clothes and snuggle with someone to prevent frostbite or hypothermia. This does not work. You'll just be found dead and naked. It is great for survival of the species though. Now with clothes, snuggling for warmth does work. Splitting up is a good idea. What I heard from a teacher who knows a lot about this kinda stuff, correct me if I am wrong, is that splitting up is only advisable if there are enough people that each group has 2 or more members and if there is dire need. The example he gave was if one of your group is severely injured and can't be easily moved but you are relatively close to somewhere you can get help, a road, a building, footpath or walking trail that is well used, in which case it is acceptable to have one group stay with the injured member and the other continue towards rescue, alerting them of the other group's location so that the appropriate response, like an air ambulance, can locate and rescue them. Muff doesn't give a fuck which side of the tree it grows on. I'd appreciate if the comments here clarify if the advice they're saying is a myth, or the actual fact that's opposing a myth. I haven't seen it yet so I'll say it. Do not drink your piss. I don't give a shit what Bear Grylls says, albeit, you can briefly drink your piss before getting sick. But urine is literally your body flushing out toxins from your squishy innards. Relying on drinking urine will make you more dehydrated than before, get you extremely sick, i.e., fever, infection, etc., and can lead to kidney and liver damage failure. So as a survival myth it's probably one of my favorite to see people try. More just a hey, don't do that. Leave large animals alone. Even if you find say a large track or droppings that make you think hey that's probably a big enough animal to kill me, leave the area. Herbivores like moose or elk or bison can kill you just as easily as a bear, often far more likely because they see you as the predator. Don't close the distance if you find a large critter. I don't care if the photo is shitty from that distance. Better to have a crappy photo of a bison than get crushed and stomped in the middle of nowhere to bleed out alone. I can't help but laugh sometimes at videos of people having to dip out when they piss off bison. It's a 3,000+ pound tank made of meat, and they are ornery at the best of times. How did they think that was gonna play out? If someone breaks into your house and takes you and your family captive, you absolutely need to run away even if they threaten to kill your family members. If you do, it may seem cowardly, but running away to a neighbor's house for help and leaving your toddler with the captor is more likely to save all of your lives than staying. Strangely enough, always accept the fact if a person kills or kidnaps another, lying is just not going to bother them. Nothing they say is worth the paper it's written on. Water. Water everywhere. So let's all have a drink. Homer Simpson. I don't know if this is considered as a survival myth, but engaging street fights is never a good option. If there is an altercation that may lead to a street fight, just stay calm and run away from the situation. No one wins real street fight. Someone will either end up in a hospital or in a funeral. That's just the truth. And if you can't run away, don't fight fair. Fighting fair is for martial arts contests, but definitely run away first. You absolutely cannot run across the chins and snouts of open gator or croc mouths. Red touch black. Safe for Jack. Red touch yellow kills a fellow. I figure if I see a snake I should just keep away from it. Ain't no way I'm checking its head shape or stripes or whatever. I'm just going to assume he doesn't like me and could potentially kill me, and I'm gonna give him his space. Myth. When hiking in grizzly country, a handgun is the best way to protect yourself from grizzlies. That's absolute bullshit. Bear spray is far more effective than any gun in a bear attack. Imagine a 600-pound bear charging you at 35 miles per hour. How good of a shot do you think you'd have to be to stop that bear before it gets to you? And what if you don't kill it one shot? That bear now has adrenaline rushing through its body on top of its already insane strength. Bear spray, however, will stop that bear and cause it to run off. All of the studies show that bear spray is far more effective at stopping charging bears. I'm reminded of a note from the Lewis and Clark expedition, where they were being chased by a grizzly bear. After firing on it nearly constantly, they killed it just before being mauled. After killing it, they found that it had 8 musket balls in it, with the killing shot being struck through the head. So a grizzly bear continued charging them after being shot 7 times, and was only stopped after a lucky shot to the head. Obviously these were muskets, but these animals are insanely tough and don't stop easily. So even if you do land several shots to the grizzly with your weapon, there's a big question if it will stop it in time. 1. You need to be quiet. 2. You can draw a can of bear spray faster than so many post about mountain DJs. Reality is, if you hike alone in bear or mountain lion country, you absolutely should be noisy. Carry a noise device and be loud. If a speaker, for sure, mute it around others. But something, whistle, air horn, speaker, don't matter. Need to be noisy when alone at regular intervals. Especially black bears. They're skittish as fuck. I remember walking around the not technically on the itself, near the Shenandoah on some less traveled path where I was just super deep in thought and not paying much attention. Dumb, I know, but nature does this to me. And apparently a black bear was doing the same thing on the same trail. Deep in bear thought. We both got about 5 feet from each other and I could see from his eyes he was thinking, oh fuck, it's one of those apes, while I was thinking, oh fuck, a bear. We both just kind of yelped. I guess bear survival school teachers being loud. 2. And ran in opposite directions. Guarantee that bear is on AskReddit writing the story from his POV. It probably won't get you killed, but remember that sudden, dramatic changes in diet are really bad for you. If you're doing disaster preparedness and need to stockpile some food, make sure it isn't too different from your everyday diet or you could get yourself sick, which is the last thing you need during a disaster. Also, there's just no good reason to force yourself and others to change diets during a disaster. Like, yeah, you can eat cans of Spam in a disaster, but Cliff Bars and chocolate work just as well. Keeping a first aid kit in your car. Of the commercial kits on the market, 90% are little OE class kits. Take a real first aid course. Learn what should be in a kit and make one yourself. And if you do buy one, go through it and understand what everything in it does and how to use it. Periodically check to make sure it is okay. Replace anything that is past its use by date. An emergency is a really shitty time to discover that you can't close a major laceration with 100 expired My Pet Monster band-aids and a pair of seen on TV scissors that are rusted shut. You always hear in Australia to rub a bit of Vegemite behind your ears to keep the drop bears away. This does not work at all and makes no difference if they attack you or not. Just stay away from tall trees at night when they're in the bush. The Vegemite attracts them even more. Hiding in an overpass during a tornado. Please, for the love of God, don't do this. You have a better chance at surviving in a ditch. If I had to pick one terrible survival myth, it's the idea that it's good to be hardcore. Survival is about being resourceful, but it's also about taking care of yourself and protecting yourself. Not trying to be macho and hardcore. It's why Bear Grylls got so much flack. He shows cool shit you can do but absolutely shouldn't. There's no reason to jump over a waterfall in a survival situation because a broken leg usually means death. You take the long way calmly and avoid unnecessary risk. Zigzag to escape an alligator. Alligators can turn, but Cam will only run in short bursts. Just run as fast as you can. In colder months especially, if you're lost in the forest woods, build a bed first. Get your ass off the ground, as the ground will suck your body heat away from you way faster than the air temperature will. Drinking your own urine. When it's cold outside and you are without proper fire, and if your inner voice says that you are tired and should take a nap, don't do it. Try to do everything against it. It's most likely that you won't wake up anymore. That you can easily disarm someone holding you at gunpoint. Beneath an overpass is the worst possible place to be if you are driving and a tornado touches down. The overpass concentrates wind and debris, making it far deadlier than just lying down in a field would be. It is honestly criminal how many Hollywood films imply that getting under an overpass is the safest place to be in a tornado. The safest thing to do is to stay in your car and cover yourself with a blanket, huddling down in the footrest or trunk of your vehicle as far away from the windows as you can be. Another option you can do is to pull over and lay down in a ditch on the side of the road, trying to get your body as low as it can get. https://youtube.com see Detroit Threat Management Center. Literally everything he says. If Bear Grylls does it, don't do it. If Survivorman Les Stroud does it, consider doing it. Sucking venom won't prevent him from killing you. When you are lost at sea, on an island or something, don't try to build a raft and go out to find other boats. Most rafts break down on bigger waves or you will fall off of them. Here's a good one. If you're in an elevator in free fall, do not jump. It won't make your landing easier. It'll probably paralyze or kill you. Lay yourself flat to try and distribute your weight, as well as the pressure of the crash, more evenly. You'll give yourself a better chance at survival this way. I mean, it's an elevator, so no guarantee you'll survive. But still, shrugging, small chance is better than none. When you finally get one over the psycho killer, a slight tap on the back with a squash racket will totally incapacitate him. You can run away at that point. He ain't getting back up. No. Casey. Keep hitting him until his head looks like an amateur lasagna. And wear proper shoes FFS. You knew this was a weekend at Chadley's cabin. The problem with this post is that some people write what is the false myth, others what is actually correct. Not really a myth, but if you have an allergy and are exposed to your allergen, e.g. bee allergy, and are far away from a hospital, do not delay calling 911 or heading to a hospital just because you feel okay. I learned this lesson the hard way. I am not going to get lost. You are, so bring a compass and a charged phone. The University of Cumbria does a sort of bushcraft master's degree which is ran by a lady who also has some sort of come to Cumbria and don't die center. That bears can't run down hills. They can. They'll get you too. Don't use moss on trees as a compass. Moss doesn't give a shit where south is. It'll grow wherever it can.